Ah, the 70s.
Wavy hair.
Ill-fitting pants.
The beginning of the golden age of video arcade.
It's all coming up right now, so don't go away. It's this nostalgic episode. It's next, I think. Roll it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another 10 Reasons Why Show Tech in the Morning with me, Scott Tomasso. I am joined today by this guy. Well, you can just
Chad Tomasso.
Just jump out of there. Today we're talking about something that we really love, and that is, it's our thumbs. It's video games, of course. Now, if you don't know, I don't want to date myself or date him, but well, that sounds weird.
Yeah, you don't want to date me.
But we know a lot about the video games in the 70s because we grew up in the 70s.
Well, I didn't, but he did.
How is that possible? That doesn't make sense. Anyway, the 70s was what we call the golden age, or what we don't call that, but it's been called the golden age of the arcade video games. And obviously, some of the biggest games came out in the 70s.
Right.
So we have a top 10 list of the best arcade video games of the 70s. Now, here's the caveat. These are just arcade games. There were some consoles out, I believe, at the time, late 70s.
Well, yeah, of course.
But these are specifically those games you found in the arcades. So
The ones you had to pay for.
the ones you had to put a quarter into.
Ding, 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 ding.
And later on, more than that. But, it started out as a quarter, believe it or not. So starting with number 10 is actually one of the most unique games I've ever played. I know you've played it.
Okay.
It's called Speed Race. Came out in 1974, made by Taito.
Yes, I do remember that game, actually.
Kind of has that filmy kind of look to the track.
It did, actually. That was kind of the cool thing about the entire game, was like you felt like you were on a kind of like a real track.
Yeah, and actually the graphics were pretty good. The car wasn't
game.
great, but you did have the wheel. That was kind of new at the time. And it also had some great sound effects. Like the crickets we're hearing right now. So number 9 is Galaxian. You remember Galaxian?
I do. It's kind of like the forerunner of Galaga.
Those sort of games. This is a game that I played the shit out of. I mean, I played the shit out of this game. Like the shit out of it. But it's the first. I didn't know this. I have some research being done. It's the first game that was 100% true RGB, which is its color.
Which I think is probably why it was so popular, because people loved the colorful enemies, the aliens that were flying down at you, and you had to shoot them with like this little toothpick thing sticking out at the front end of your ship.
Just kind of a toothpick would show up and you'd shoot it.
Bing!
Yeah,
Bing!
but as you know though, the old games used to have just color templates over the top to make a game look like it was color, but it really wasn't.
No, this was the true red, green, blue.
Galaxian number 9. Number 8, now this might be a little high on the list, but a lot of people may or may not even remember this ever existed, but Death Race. Exidy's Death Race.
Death Race was like Mad Max for like the beginning gamer.
This is in 1976. This is like I would call it like the Mortal Kombat of the 70s, which is because you're basically in a car chasing down people, killing them with your car. And then they turn into zombies. I don't know what spin they were doing there, how they were trying to spin it, but you're basically running over people. I don't care if they call them zombies or not, you're running over people.
Well, they may have been ahead of their time, because zombies, as you know, are super popular right now.
True.
If you bring this sucker back, people are popping 2-3 quarters in this sucker just to run over zombies.
Death Race 2014, where you at?
Where are you at?
So that brings us to number 7. This one almost is like duh. Of course it's on the list. Breakout. You remember Breakout?
Yeah, I think you can still play Breakout.
I think there's been a million different versions of Breakout.
Yes, I think there has been. And there's a reason why. It's because everybody loves to just hit those little bricks, and you put that little ball up there and bing, bing, bing,
Just
bing,
keeps
bing.
going back and forth, goes back and forth. It feels like you're doing something good, but you're really not doing anything.
Hey, actually, the less you do, the better.
That's true. This was in 1976.
Holy crap.
1976.
I wasn't even born yet.
How is that? That's not possible.
a long time
Still
ago.
not possible. Still not possible. So this is one of those games we were talking about with the color overlays. This was a black and white game, but you could put color overlays, which made the bricks different colors or the
Right.
different levels colors. Another interesting fact on this is that Steve Jobs had something to do with this.
Did he really?
He aided on this game. I think it was Wozniak as well. You know, these are all big Apple people.
Of course, these are the founding fathers almost.
Yes, and it actually directly influenced the design of the Apple II. So, you know, go figure that this
Really?
was such a big hit.
That's weird, but cool.
That's trivia for you. So number 6, this is one we played a lot. I know we played this a lot.
Okay.
This was Gunfight. Do you remember Gunfight?
Yes, is that the one with like the cactus you could shoot and the little thing that would roll through the
Like
middle?
a little carriage
and-
would come through
Yeah,
every
yeah,
once
like
in a while.
a little pioneer carriage.
You could bounce bullets because that's what you do in the West.
I used to kick the crap out
No,
of you
I
in
don't
this
recall
game.
that happening.
Constantly. In fact, I think I still have like a 1,000 to 10 edge.
I'm pretty sure that's not true.
It's true.
We're gonna play again. And this is a game that didn't last very long either. It's like one shot, you're dead. I think you got maybe 3 lives. How did
I
that
think
work?
there were 3 lives, but you only could take 1 shot. So, I mean, the
All right.
gunfights I remember would only last like 3 seconds.
Yeah, if you got shot in the foot, you're dead.
Because could you shoot like 5 or 6 bullets
You could
in a
shoot
row?
a bunch, and
Yeah.
like I said, you could ricochet them.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
that
could
was-
like angle it.
That was ridiculous, but awesome.
So this brings us to our first of the top 5. Now this is Le Mans. Atari made this Le Mans car racing game that's like a top-down overview of the racetrack, and it's either like you have like a black car and a white car, and if you're the black car, you were on like a white track, you know, etc. But this is like a cool game. It's one of the first games I think that had like this really cool manual shift. It had like 4 gears on it. The steering wheel was way too sensitive. I remember doing zzz, and it would just keep spinning.
Yeah, that actually was a fun game, and that spawned probably about a million other games. I remember there was like a little truck game that came after that, like a little dirt thing. And,
Oh, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man, these things were awesome. But it was very frustrating because it was so touchy. You hit the side of that sucker, and you were like, "God darn this stupid wheel!"
Oh yeah, you're going so fast too, and it's just yeah.
And actually, I remember the engine sounded pretty realistic.
Oh,
too.
the audio was fantastic.
So-
Atari. This is Atari of all. I mean, I don't even remember Atari arcade games.
Ahead of their time.
So this brings us to number 4. Now, I know you know this because you've seen this because we also had it on the VIC-20, the Commodore VIC-20 as well, way back in the day.
Yeesh.
1979, this game came out. It's called Lunar Lander,
Lunar Lander.
which is one of the hardest, most fun games I've ever
my
played.
God.
Frustrating and fun at the same time.
This is the game where you'd spend like a half an hour floating down softly, and then BAM!
Yep, and I think you'd have to did you have to get fuel every once in a while? I don't even remember. I
You
just
did
remember,
have to, yes.
I just remember you were gonna run out of fuel at some point.
You could only, right, it was realistic.
Yeah, so you had to land on a platform within a certain amount of time without using a lot of fuel. And yeah, you're right. You'd spend like 10 minutes, 15 minutes trying to get to this one little platform, and then you make one little mistake, boom.
So frustrating, but I do attribute this game to the extreme amount of patience that I have today.
Maybe you need to play a little more.
Thank you, Lunar Lander.
So number 3, I was actually very close to putting this number 1, only because of how unique and cool it is. Sega came out with this game called Sonar, which is back in 1972. So we're talking the early 70s. This is like
Holy
the
crap.
front runner.
But that thing must have been out for a really long time because I do remember playing it, and I felt like when I played it that I was like in a Disney ride. Like it was just
That's
so
true.
cool. It was like this 3D thing, and you felt like you were underwater.
Yeah, it's
Honestly.
like, well, it had like bubbles shooting up. It was
Yeah.
what do they call it? They call it an electromechanical game. And it had like this 3D kind of thing that you were talking about. It felt like a Disney ride almost.
Yes.
But this 3D ocean floor, and you got to shoot these digital missiles basically and guide them through the water
And then the submarines would like crack in half and just like
so nicely. They would just fall nicely to the bottom.
It was pretty awesome. And they kept score on the outside of the box.
Yeah.
That was like really cool because back in the day, that's how they it was just light up things.
One of the coolest things, and I don't know if people I wouldn't even associate this with Sega, but I felt like this was a game that was way ahead of its time. Way ahead of its time.
I would play it now. Granted, some tweaks would need to happen, but it's actually a really cool concept.
You should go check it out.
Check it out.
So number 2, probably not a big surprise, but back in 1978, you remember this.
I wasn't
You
born
played
yet.
it when I remember when it first came out. You were watching the TBS. Space Invaders, 1978.
Yeah, you kind of have to put that one in there. I'm surprised that's not number 1.
You can't think of the 70s without thinking about Space Invaders.
No, Space Invaders was pretty awesome.
Talk about a game that pretty much defined a platform for future video games. There were so many games that looked and acted just like Space Invaders. And this game, I'd still play this game today. I think they probably still have a version out of it somewhere. Like, keeps getting newer, like a 2014 or 2013 version. I'm sure they do.
No, it was awesome. And actually, this is a cool game because your little base pods that you could hide behind, it was just like you hit it and only a little chunk would come out, and you felt like you were like in a real war. It was pretty awesome.
And then that just ding 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 ding.
Oh, it was just, I had nightmares about it.
Yeah. I get chills right now, actually. So that brings us to our number 1. What do you think the number 1 is?
Do you want me to guess?
Yes.
Because I think I know what it is. If it's not Space Invaders, it has to be Asteroids.
That's correct. Asteroids is the number 1 game of the 1970s, and do you know why? Because it kicked ass.
Well, it did kick ass. You could fly through all the screens, and you were like appearing off of different sides. And
Right, and the cool thing about this is that it was vector-based. It's super smooth. So when you were shooting these asteroids, they were breaking up. You know, it was awesome. The graphics were incredible.
yeah, and it was just in
this
black.
thing.
It was just in black and white, right?
Right, black and white, and shooting spaceships and shooting asteroids. Of course, it's called asteroids. I mean, well,
Really? Asteroids?
I sucked at this game.
I actually was pretty good, I thought. But who didn't do like the kamikaze asteroid thing where you just flew as fast as you could without getting hit
Oh, yeah, once
by
I got-
an actual asteroid?
I got pissed after a while. I would destroy all the asteroids that get killed by this little frickin' UFO.
I still have these little little things blazoned into my retina.
Yeah.
With the big like glowy things.
Might want to go get that checked out. Or something. All right, there you have it. That's my top 10. It's not the, it's not the official. Well, I call it the
it's
official.
not.
But
If it's yours.
those are my top 10 games of the 70s. Do you agree with most of them?
I do actually. I really you've totally made me want to go play Sonar again though.
Sonar, I kind of want to say that too. I don't know if there is one around here. Someone knows one somewhere.
Gotta find one.
All right. If you have any others that you like that weren't on the list, let us know. We'll actually give you a shout out on the part 2. Part 2's coming up. That's going to be our top 10 list of the best arcade video games of the 80s. So make sure to check that out soon. In the meantime, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. For myself and Chad Tomasso, we'll see you next time. It's going to be video games of the 80s. Can't miss it. We'll see you. Go check yourself before you wreck yourself. Hello everyone, and thanks again for watching the video. Go ahead and hit subscribe below. If you're one of those people that loves to listen on the go, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Just click the link below. In the meantime, check out some of our sample videos. Just click on them and it'll take you right there. And we thank you again for checking us out. Click it. Go on, click it.